And your peak will be your beginning. When I was a little boy, mama told me, love will set you free. My boy, please.
Well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and good night, wherever you are in the world today. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this next episode of Inside a Trader. I'm so glad that you've joined me, whether you're here on Zoom or whether you're on Facebook Live. I am so excited, as I am with every interview. And so tonight, our wonderful guest tonight is Pammy B. Oh, look at she, gorgeous, gorgeous Pammy. And the reason why I've asked Pammy to come on and speak, yes, she's a leader within the organization, but also she's just such an inspiration within the organization. I just thought, you know what, I want to speak with her. I want to interview her.
Thank you, Janet.
Oh, no, it's so true. I mean, there's the people, everybody that I've interviewed have been wonderful, and there are some people I've been, I want to interview. You. So you're definitely one of those.
Oh, it's an honor. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, it's wonderful. Thank you. So, without further ado, and sorry, I'm just getting my questions up here. I have to have some structure. But have to have some structure. But yeah, as with the previous interviews, it does go with the flow, because I have some questions here, but then somebody says something like, oh, I want to know more about that. Let's dig into that. And that's why we call it Inside a Trader. You can think about, and some people may have a stereotypical view of what a trader is. And in speaking with an interviewing Nicola on Tuesday, she was saying, like, you know, white male, suited and booted on the trade floor, shouting all of this kind of stuff. But what we're bringing to you here is an opportunity where people, everyday people like you and me, are taking control of our finance, taking control of our wealth. And I wanted to interview people that were just like us. So here's Pammy. And I said in the bio thing on Facebook, I said, we can both find out what the B stands for. We can all find out what the B stands for. So Pammy, introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Pammy, Pammy B. It's just one of those names that I have a very long African name, put it that way. I'm originally Ghanaian, so my parents and my family are from Ghana, West Africa. So we have quite extended names. So the full name is Pamela Precious Mami Abafojan. That's the full name, right? So we had to abbreviate that, because after years and years of having to break it down and spell it out, even my email I had to abbreviate just to make it easier when I'm speaking to companies and sharing my email. So yeah, I'm Pammy. I've been with this amazing opportunity for just over 2 years now. And I am a leader within Ame Finance Academy, which I'm sure we'll be talking a bit about today.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for telling me your full name. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I'm sorry. I'm one of those kind of facilitators, like, tell me your name one time. That's nice. Here's a badge so that I'll remember what it is.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful. So to start, you know, give us a little bit of background, really. How did you get to, I suppose, join this company? What were you doing beforehand?
Okay. So beforehand, what did I not do? So I was someone who, from when I was quite young, maybe in like secondary school, I would read books about entrepreneurship. I would read books about business minds. I would read books about people like Richard Branson and the Facebook story. I recently just found some of the books that I read at school, like the Facebook story. There was a book that I was reading about entrepreneurs' business failures. And I just always knew that I wanted to go into that, but I didn't know how to get started. I also recently realized that I actually had said to myself when I was younger, I want to become an analyst, right? Just because, let's be real, we grow up hearing titles and we hear job roles and we're like, that sounds amazing. I want to do that. So I wanted to be an analyst, and I would sit on the DLR. I went to university in Greenwich, and I'd sit on the DLR and I'd look at the Canary Wharf Tower and just daydream and think like, wow, I wonder what they're doing in there. I would love to end up in there. But at first, my aspiration was just to work within corporate, and I went on to do that. So as soon as I left university, I'd actually got internship with a company, a fintech company, so financial tech company, and started off working there, worked my way up to marketing manager, and was doing very well in that industry, working within marketing. However, there was just something about it that just wasn't fulfilling to me. I didn't feel like I was fulfilling my full potential and the real reason as to why I've been placed on this earth. And I knew that time is one of those things that we don't get back. And I really wanted to find my purpose. So I then was going to quit my job and even wrote out the letter of resignation. Then I felt something within me say, don't hand it in yet. So I held on to it. And literally I was in the office by myself. I remember I was going to go put it on my boss's desk. I was ready to go. I wasn't happy. I hadn't been happy for a long time. They'd even noticed. They tried to give me employee of the quarter, then employee of the year, and so on to keep me there, right? But I'd had enough. But something said, don't hand it in yet. So then I find out the next day that we were going to be made redundant. My whole department was going to get made redundant. Wow. And it was going to be in effect the next week, right? So we literally had like a week until redundancy. So everyone else is like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And I'm like, like this is the answer to my prayers. I've been waiting for this, right? So I left that, and at first I had this big redundancy check, and I was like, I'm going to go move to Ghana, where my family are from, and start life out there. But the problem was I had been diagnosed with lupus. So lupus is an autoimmune condition where your immune system fights your body instead of disease. So your immune system will see your heart and think it's a foreign object and try and get rid of it. Or it will see your respiratory system attack it. It will see your skin attack it. So I went through, I was at the time battling with that. And I knew that if I went to Ghana, I wouldn't be able to afford the healthcare, right? But then I went on a search. I didn't want to just jump into another job. I remember my boss at the time telling me, you know, out of everyone here, you've got the best options when it comes to finding another job, because I'd really worked hard. I'd worked so hard to the point where I was like getting paid the most in my whole department.
Pammy, can I stop you just there? Because honestly, because I know you said that you were unhappy and you knew it wasn't for you. How did you know? What were those things?
So I think it's a couple of things, right? I think we are conditioned, aren't we? We're conditioned to live life a certain way. And I remember being conditioned to think, yes, you go to school, you go to university, you then go and get a job. So I got the job. I was working in corporate. I was jumping on the central line in the heat of the mornings during summer and the cold of the winters. I'm quite small, so my head was always perched under someone's armpit. To me, it was just like, this can't be life. This can't be life. Now, apart from that, my grandmother, I was raised by my grandmother, right? So my mum actually passed when I was 2 years old, and my grandmother came to look after me. And my grandmother just always told me, you're gonna be someone great. And it would always be in those moments of like despair, always in those moments where I felt down, always in those moments where I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And it's like she could see it, and she would just say to me, you're going to be someone great. And that was instilled within me. And I just knew that the greatness that I'm supposed to be is not found in this job. I just knew it. I remember there was a security guard working in the office that I was at. And he even said, you know, wow, like you guys are making your boss so much money. And he had a point. We were making our boss the money, but I could make that money myself, right? And not only that, with the health condition that I had, it just became increasingly harder and harder to work. I really enjoyed helping others. And honestly, part of the reason why I stayed in that job for so long was because I loved the people I worked with. Like I wanted to be there for them. I wanted to help them. But there was no fulfillment. It was just making money for the sake of making money. There was no fulfillment in that. And I just knew this isn't it. And I need to find it, whatever it is.
And it's interesting because there's people on here saying as well that they understand. He says, I know the levels of the train journey. That's Toya, you say that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we put ourselves through those things. Let's be honest. There are people that commute to work and they will live somewhere that is so far away from their workplace that actually they'd be better off finding a job closer to home, because you spend all your money on commuting and you don't even enjoy the commute. And then it's an hour's worth of journey. I mean, people work 9 to 5, but really and truly, you're working a 7 till 6 because you have to get up and get ready for this job. You drag yourself out of bed and then you get onto the tube, onto the train. Everyone's upset. Everyone's frustrated. Would you move down the carriage, please? Would you move down the carriage, please? Or your bag hit me. Why do we do to ourselves?
Well, like you said, it's the conditioning, isn't it? It's the this is what we're told when we go to school, and you know there has to be a certain number of workers, and so we were supposed to be the workers, but you were not satisfied with that.
Because like, even Toya saying I used to sleep from Barking to West Croydon, like, wow, what a journey. There was a time where I was traveling, because when I started working there, I was on an internship. So the internship was based in Oxford. And I didn't have accommodation for about a month in Oxford. So I was commuting from London to Oxford. That's a 3-hour journey. There and back. 1.5 hours every day, Monday to Friday.
Wow.
But here's the thing. I think that a lot of what we do is learn. I've used this example before and I love it because it's just true, right? If you failed and failed and failed and failed again at something, what's the human reaction? The human response is, well, I guess this isn't for me. I might as well stop it. But here's the thing, we did that. Every single human being failed and failed and failed as a child. When you're walking, when you're a child and you're walking, you walk and you fall. You walk and you fall. You walk and you fall. But you keep getting up because we don't know any better. Our human nature is we have to walk. So we get up and we do it, unless there's something about you physically that you cannot. Even in that instance, that human being will get up and try and try and try again. So we are conditioned to fail and think, oh, I guess that's not for me then. Imagine if you told yourself as a baby, walking is not for me. Everyone will be crawling. Everyone will be dragging their bums across the floor. But imagine if quitting was not an option. What would you be doing?
Like you said, as children, we don't know the language of can't and don't. We see other people doing it and say, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do, so that's what I'm going to do. But then somewhere along the way in school, we start hearing the language of, well, you can't, you shouldn't, that's not for you, and so that begins to become imprinted on us as well.
Yes. And I was that person. I was the person who was told that I can't, but I would want to prove people wrong. So I remember going to college and finding out that business studies was something I could study. Like, business studies is a subject. Okay, I've read about all these amazing business people. Let me learn how to become like them. But I was being taught I wasn't being taught the practicalities. I was being taught the theory. And I'm not necessarily someone who excels when it comes to academia, right? So I was told by my my business studies teacher, I don't think A-levels business is for you. I think you should go and do ABCE. And there's nothing wrong with ABCs, but at the time I was conditioned to think, you don't do ABCs, you're an A-level student. If you do ABCs,
I don't know what AVC is. I'm old school.
I'm trying to remember, but I just know that it was more like you would do practical,
like a vocational course.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like they call them apprenticeships now, I think.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I think that's the same thing. So I was just like, I'm not an ABC student. I'll prove you wrong. So he predicted me a B and I ended up getting a B. And that was the only B I ever got in that class, just because I wanted to prove him wrong. Right. When I started this business, I was told, you're not going to make any money. Oh, I proved her wrong. I proved her wrong. The money was made and it's being made, you know? So I'm that sort of person where I will do the opposite of what you're telling me, unless it's going to benefit me.
So you take that negativity and you use it as fuel. It's just like, you said I can't, I can, right? And then you mentioned about your health and your grandmother as well. So I'm assuming that contributed to, I suppose, the choices that you then made.
Yeah. So with my health, I'll never forget being in this job. And I remember one day I was so ill that I knew that if I don't get up and leave now, I don't know that I'm going to be able to get up and go anywhere. Wow. So I got up. I hate going to the hospital unless I absolutely need to. I don't want to be there. So I got up and I decided to go home, and my manager was in a meeting. And as I was going home, I remember thinking, I was on the train and I thought, am I going to be able to get out of the train? I was that fatigued. I just completely lost all my energy. And she called me, Pamela, where did you go? Oh, I wasn't feeling well. And I knew if I didn't leave, I wasn't going to be able to. But we've got a project to finish.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the look. It's like, what?
So I should die for your projects. That's how I felt. Like, that's not okay. So I remember I ended up getting home. Thanks be to God, I was able to get home. And then I was on the sofa for 3 days. I couldn't get up. I only got up to, when nature called. That was it. And I was on the sofa for 3 days. Then I managed to get up to go see the doctor. And the doctor decided I had the flu. Now, it wasn't the flu. It was a flare. GPs don't really know as much about the condition unless they've actually studied it. So it turned out it was a flare. But I remember calling my manager to let her know. She was like, just the flu? She said to me, just the flu? So she's like, oh, so you come back to work? And I went back to work that same day.
What?
Same day. And then I was in hospital one time and they brought me my laptop to finish up another project. Because I was literally, what I realized is I was actually invaluable to them. Because for many of us, they're paying us to do that job that you do because they need you. And so why is it that they're calling the shots? You should be the one calling the shots. They needed me. I was the only person in that role. I knew what to do. So I realized that this is not okay.
How did that feel being in hospital? Because you sound like the kind of person that doesn't play with doctors in hospital. So you're not in there for joke. So you're in hospital and they bring your laptop. How does that feel?
It felt like they did not care about my health or well-being.
How did you feel?
I think at the time, I didn't know to feel any other way other than feel bad. I felt bad. I actually felt bad that I was sick and couldn't do the things that I needed to do, because I felt like my job was the be all and end all. It's what put food on my table. It's what helped me help my mum pay my grandmother, I called her mum. It's what helped me help her to pay the bills. It's what allowed me to have the things that I like to have in life. And I felt bad.
It happens to a lot. Like you said, there's that guilt that we get, even though we're ill, legitimately not able to. There's that, again, that's the conditioning.
Yep.
You should be what you should be. It's that shoulding all over ourselves.
Yep.
Instead of looking after ourselves.
Exactly. Because what I find is a lot of people will be sick, and even if it is just a cold, what happens is you'll rush to get better, right? So you'll take the Lemsip, swallow the Strepsils, overdose on paracetamol to get back to work. Then you haven't fully recovered, and what happens? A week or two later, you're ill again. you need that time to readjust. You need that time for your body to get that R&R. But no one gives themselves that time.
And it's the emotional and psychological harm we do to ourselves as well, because you're not only you pushing your body, you are willing yourself to do that based upon feelings of fear and guilt and all of the negative stuff that's pushing you and burning you out at the same time.
Exactly. And it's just a shame that most people feel guilt when really they should feel like, this is not okay. I need to put my health, both mental and physical, and my well-being first.
Mm,
And that's what I chose to do.
nice. So when you say you chose to do that, what did you do?
So initially my thing was, okay, I don't want to go back into corporate. I need to find whatever it is that I was placed on this earth to do, because I believe that God has put us all on this earth with a plan and a purpose. And I just knew that I wasn't living in that plan and in that purpose. So I initially started, while I was working, actually, I was making jewelry. And I used to, it was doing really well. I used to go to shows like Africa Fashion Week, and quite a lot of, I had my work in publications and so on. So I was working, doing the 9 to 5, but also making my jewelry, right? So the idea was, this will help free me. But you know how it is with business. Usually you don't really make money for a few years. So I was breaking even. And I loved doing it, but the issue was that my health, once again, kind of interrupted it, because it involved a lot of fine work. And so that fine work would affect my joints, because with lupus, your joints get affected. One of the first symptoms I had was my hands, I'd wake up like this and I couldn't move my hands. So the more you do fine work, the worse it gets. So I had to stop doing that. So there was that. And then I started to do hair as well. So from when I was very young,
Entrepreneurial, man.
I tried a bit of everything. So when I was really young, I used to do my my grandmother's hair, and then bless her, she would tell everyone, "Oh, Pam can do hair," and then her friends would come and get their hair done, and she used to child mine. So then I'd do the kids' hair, and word would spread. I'd do my own hair. People would see my hair and love it. So I was always kind of doing hair, but I decided to actually go and do it full time. So I did that for 2 years. I was a mobile hairdresser.
Wow.
Yeah. But once again, I'd get in my car, I'd stand up for hours. By the time I get home, it's like I couldn't feel what I was putting my body through until I got home and sat down. And then I'd be out of it. So I would sort of work back to back for like 2 or 3 weeks. Then I'd have to stop for 2 or 3 weeks just to recover. And so once again, I couldn't continue that way. And that's the thing about self-employment, isn't it? Like, you decide that I'm going to be my own boss, but really and truly, your customers, your clients, they are your boss, right? So you have to show up for them. I remember being ill one day and having to cancel, and someone was so distraught that I can't come and do her hair, that she had to go at me. And I was like, well, I said to her, you know, with my condition, or with the condition rather, I don't like to claim it as mine. With the condition, I sort of felt it coming on, but I wasn't sure. There was nothing I could do to prevent it. And she was like, well, if you felt it coming on, then you should have said earlier. So it was tough. It was really tough. So I actually ended up going back into work, and I worked at part-time admin job. And then unfortunately, my grandmother got ill. She'd been ill for many years, but it got worse. So I was her carer. And so I was working part-time caring for my grandmother. And unfortunately, in February 2018, she passed. And so at that point, what happened was, we'd gone from, because she was elderly, in the UK, you don't pay as much for things. Like, you don't pay, what is it? TV license. There's certain things you don't have to pay when you're elderly and you're being cared for, and the rent was a lot less and so on. So then she passed, and straight away, all my bills, all my expenses went up, and I was by myself, and I didn't have a job. I decided I don't want to work in admin anymore. And I went and got another job working for the NHS, right? Because I said, oh, I can help people here. You know, I can do my part here. And I was working for let's just say the phone service that people call, right? Those people. And then once again, and I salute everyone that works for the NHS. It's not easy. No. But once again, I just felt like my health was not a priority. I would go to work ill, and they would see that I'm ill and still expect me to be there.
I think what's really fascinating is that on your journey, when we think we found freedom, we then start to learn that it's not, we've just created another job for ourselves when we're working for ourselves. And I suppose an indicator for you was your health.
Yes.
It would always remind, it was like, this clearly isn't right because my health, you're having a flare up. Yeah.
So then the thing became, I had a cousin who wasn't working, and I was just kind of thinking, well, you're not working, so what are you doing with your life? And I was just being nosy and inquisitive, and he didn't want to tell me. And this is what makes me laugh about this opportunity. He did not want to tell me. He kept it to himself. I had to drag it out of him. I was like, wait, hold on. You can't be on a good thing. You're telling me that you're not working. You're doing your own. What are you doing? Oh, I trade. Okay, how does that work? How do I get into that? Can you show me? He was like, I'm like, what are you earning about? Like, so I actually drew it out of him. And then he introduced me to his mentor at the time, who then told me about the business and told me about trading. And I'd heard about it. But when I was first exposed to it, I was told that it was going to cost me about $2,000 to get started. And I did not have that $2,000, but I feel like if I did, I would have jumped on earlier. Right. And so as soon as I heard that it was 180 to start, I was like, sign me up. I asked like 2 or 3 questions and I jumped on it. I thought, this is it. This is it. This is what I've been looking for. And then I remember signing up and then literally straight after feeling like, oh my gosh, what have I done?
What was that about? Why?
It was my mindset. Definitely my mindset. My mindset was one that you do not pay to embark on something. If it's really the thing, you shouldn't have to pay for it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Where do you think that mindset came from?
From being used to doing jobs. So to do a job, they tell you they're going to pay you, don't they? You don't go and pay for it. But I failed to realize that I'd paid for university and was still in debt.
So it's Toya saying, say that again, Pammy. Was that about the mindset? Yeah. Say that about.
My mindset was that I do not have to pay to have a job. The job pays me. I didn't understand the concept of investing in myself. Every time we walk into a shop and we buy something that we like or we want, we don't ever think, how am I getting the money back?
That's true.
We just walk in, oh, those are some nice shoes. They're going to look good with that dress. What's that? £100? It's worth it. And we just buy it. And we don't think about the hours that it took to gather that £100, to work for that £100, to get that pair of shoes. And yet there are all these items within our homes that we have invested in that have not given us any type of return that we have relied on. But when it comes to investing in yourself and in your learning, that's a mindset that needs to be acquired. Like you have to realize that when you're paying to invest in yourself, that it's not just about paying for a product or paying for a service. It's about paying for your future. It's about paying to learn a skill that is a high income skill. It's about paying for something that will allow you to look at your bank account a year later and smile.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm so glad that you said that, because I can work public and private sector, and a public sector attitude is, oh, they're going to pay for me, because they pay for the training that they want you to do in the job, not to develop you so that you can do the job better. Whereas business people know they have to invest in themselves because nobody else is going to do it for them. And so, as you said, when you embark upon this investment, is so that it improves your skill set, so that you can be a higher earner.
Yep. For business people, for investors, that's the norm. The wealthy know that it takes money to make money. No one ever got rich doing a job. But for me, it's not about riches. It's about gaining wealth. It's about creating a legacy. Because this is how I see it. I have lupus, but lupus doesn't have me. The lupus made me realize that I needed to break out of the conventional way of thinking and the conventional way of doing things, because it was not suitable for me having that condition. And it made me realize that this is now a test that is going to lead to my testimony and something that will allow people to relate to me. Because I always say this. I recently was on a session with some, it was a females only session, like women in business. And my thing was, I said to them, I have lupus. What is it that you battle with in life? Everybody has that thing that they battle with in life. And people were writing it in the chat box. They were talking about having depression. They had self-confidence issues. They had issues with anger, right? And my thing was, you have to realize that you may have those issues, but those issues do not have you. So because I'm going through that, I can now relate to so many other people. Because I'm going through that, I know that there are people that I haven't even met whose lives I will be able to impact because of my story. Because I've gone through that, there are people on my team, right, who have chronic health conditions I didn't even know, that I've never even met. But because they've been able to share that with me, I have also been able to say, guess what? So do I. So do I.
So cool.
So yeah, it's been amazing, because this opportunity has allowed me to not have to work a 9 to 5.
Well, I was going to ask you actually, so what's different with this business now? It's different with this opportunity?
So I still work, but I only work part-time. I only work 2 days a week, and that's by choice, right? So I work 14 hours a week now, but this job is suited to what I do. Why? Because I trade in the week, and then the job is at the weekend, right? So it doesn't interfere with that. Plus, something that a lot of people don't realize is you need to make sure that if you are working a job, that they're paying you what you're worth. I had a friend recently who had been looking for work for so long that literally the first thing that was offered to her, she was going to take. I said, wait, how much are you getting paid? And she was getting paid almost half of what she used to get paid. I said, stop, don't take that job. Do better. You're worth more than that. And you know it because you've achieved it before. So like, how dare you allow them to devalue you with a wage, right? So what I do in terms of work now, I get paid more than someone's 9 to 5 in 2 days.
Wow.
Right? So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. I'm not gonna put it out there for them to hear, but let's just say, you know, I'm giving it time. Yeah, I'm giving it time. But I trade and I support and help and mentor a team of over 40 people in this academy with learning the skill of trading as well. So it means that now I can wake up and roll over in my bed and just pick up my phone, and I don't have to leave my bed if I don't want to. Literally,
I love that.
Session, I'm gonna just say it now. I've done one-to-ones with my team in my bed. Okay. I've literally been sat up by my wall and done my one-to-one. So it means that Esther, bless you. You're a great mentor, Pammy. Thank you so much. Esther's quite new to the academy and she's doing amazing. She's so plugged in. And see, meeting people like Esther is amazing. And it's just great to know I can just get up and stay in bed. All I need is my phone. That's it.
So, and it couldn't be better for you, could it? It really could not be any better for you. You're living life on your terms.
Yep.
And I was going to ask, have you had a flare up since you started working in this business?
I had one very early on. You see, this is the thing. People think that you come into this opportunity and you start making money straight away. Not true, right? It's all about you. What you put in is what you get out. And for me, I really wanted to acquire the knowledge first, because oftentimes people will say, oh, this is risky. Yes, it is. But I always say this: no risk, no reward. And for me, reward stands for REWARD. Receiving education will allow risk to decrease, right? So I decided to really dive into the education first, and I didn't set up a live account for about 6 months.
Say that again, reward. Say it again.
So reward to me stands for receiving education will allow risk to decrease, because you can put a normal individual into operating theatre, right? You could put Janet into operating theatre and say perform surgery. What will you say to that, Janet?
Not if you want to live. That's what.
Exactly. So, meanwhile, if you took Janet and you'd run Janet through medical school for 5 years and then the 2 extra years to become a surgeon, guess what's going to happen when you put her in the operating theatre?
I know what to do.
Exactly. Right? So once you've received the education, the risk goes down. There's risk in everything that we do. You step on a bus or on the tube, you don't know who's driving that, but you have enough faith to step on that bus and know that you're going to get to your destination, right? That person driving that car, that bus or that tube did not know how to do it before they did it. They had to learn. So I knew I had to learn, and I learned and I learned and I learned. And so for 6 months, I didn't set up a live account. And during those 6 months, it was tough. I decided to quit my job in the NHS because I hated it, right? I remember I had people die on the phone to me. I felt like I want to make a difference, but this is not it. This is going to affect my mental health, right? So I quit that job and I threw myself into this. And I had no income, no money coming in.
Wow.
Paying for my subscription, having to figure things out, having to borrow money. I borrowed money from a friend, and I told her this recently. I borrowed money from a friend to set up my live account. I'm not saying everyone should do this, but I borrowed money from my friend to set up my live account. She's now part of the academy, right? And I told her, I borrowed money from you for that purpose.
Wow.
I borrowed the money from her for that purpose. And I decided I'm going all in. And so I was slightly stressed and I did get ill at the beginning, but it wasn't because of the fact that I was doing this. It was because of the fact that I still had that mindset that, oh, what if this doesn't work? What am I going to do? But I shifted from thinking, what if it doesn't work, to how am I going to make this work?
Just stick a pin there, because what's just stopped me in my tracks is you borrowed money for. There's some people who's like, oh, I don't want to spend that money because, or and they got it, but they're just choosing not to spend it. You stopped working, stepped out in faith and borrowed money. Yeah. And you weren't even making money at the time because you were trading with a dummy account. Wow.
See, this is the thing, right? When you find out what the banks are doing with your money, you realize that you can become the bank. It changes your perspective on things. And I took a calculated risk. Yeah, that's what I would say. It was a calculated risk. I knew this was going to pay off. And I knew that by doing what I'd done in borrowing the money, I had to make it work. I had no choice. This has to work. And funnily enough, the job that I'm doing now, I got the job before I had quit the NHS job. Right. Okay. I had to wait 1.5 years to actually start that job. Right. So I won't lie, I kind of had that in the back of my head. I was like, still that buffer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I didn't know when that was coming. I'd been told people wait 3-4 years for that.
Wow.
But I got lucky to even get in a year and a half in, right? So I just knew that everything is hard. I knew that if you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, your life will be easy, right? And I knew that going to work another 9 to 5 was going to be hard, and I didn't want to do that. So I chose this hard. I knew that this was going to get me to where I needed to go. I knew that if money was not an option, the person that I would be. And I knew that I needed to get there, because that person is someone who wants to help others, someone who wants to go back to Ghana and help people out of gain generational wealth, out of poverty. I always say, this is on my vision board, I want to help 500 plus people to create ongoing generational wealth, right? And I knew that in order to do that, I had to do that. I had to become that. I had to walk in that.
You know what's resonated with me? What you chose your hard. That I love, because like you said, it's not, life isn't easy. So you chose which hard you wanted to dedicate. That is awesome.
Because it's only for a short time. I mean, and literally I was just watching this now. It's still on my TV on mute, right? I was looking at, it just came to me to look at how glass is made, right? Because we know that the most beautiful things in the world are created from pressure. We know that coal goes through pressure to create diamonds. We know that there is a crushing that happens for things to be formed. And when you look at glass goes through fire. It goes through fire. Like, that can't be easy, right? But it started off as sand. It was sand. Sand is something that you pick up and it just falls between your fingers. You walk in it and it scatters. But how can something that is so loose, and so when you look at it, it's so pitiful, right? How can that go through fire and come out at the other end and become something that is used in everyday life? It's used for ornaments. It's used for us to be able to have vision, to be able to see outside. Glass is a barrier between us and the outside elements. Glass is used for us to be able to see. For people that wear glasses, they put glass in their glasses for them to have vision. But glass began as sand and went through fire. Not everybody wants to go through the fire to become something beautiful. But that's the only way that you get there. In order to get to where you should be and where you need to be, you have to go through some things where you don't want to be, right?
Pammy, can I ask you then, like you said, because one of the things I normally ask is, what has been one of the most challenging times whilst you've been in the business, and what have been some of the best times whilst you've been in the business?
So the challenging times would be the beginning. So like I said, I didn't have any income coming in. I remember my fridge broke down, right? So here's what I did. At that time, I was looking to travel to Ghana, and I decided that I'm going to stay. I was supposed to stay in Ghana for 3 weeks. I decided to stay for 3 months. Had no money coming in, had no options, I didn't have a plan. I just knew I wanted to be there. I'd met up with some guys out there who were in the business, and I wanted to work with them, right? And I wanted to study, and I wanted to learn, and I wanted to really put my all into this. And I just stayed in Ghana, and then I got ill. So what happened was the lupus was attacking my lungs. And literally it felt sometimes like I was having a heart attack. It was that bad. I'd wake up in pain, and I thought, I need to leave. If I stay here, I'm gonna have to pay for medical care, and I haven't got it. So family put money together for me to be able to fly back home.
Right. Wow.
And that was tough, because it was like, I know I've got this under my belt, I've got this skill, but it's not making me money yet, but it will. I'm not going to let this phase me. You know, I decided to go through the fire. I found it so hard, but I decided to go through the fire. And like within our business, you know, you pay monthly, but then if you introduce 2 people to the business, you get a scholarship, don't you? You basically don't pay for anything. I did not go 2 and 3 for about a year.
What?
Yeah, I didn't go 2 and 3 for about a year. Yeah, I went from not having my 2 and 3, struggling to pay the monthly, but still paying it, to seeing 3-figure days in my trading, and to then a year and a bit later getting my 2 and 3. Sorry, in the first year I got my 2 and 3. So about a year in, I got my 2 and 3. Then I was 2 and 3 for about 4 or 5 months. But what happened was I was developing as a person, and people saw it. People saw my development. People saw what I was doing. People saw what I was achieving. And the people that did not hear me when I first told them about the opportunity now had their ears open.
Yes, of course.
The people that were not listening were now jumping on board. The people that took forever to hear me out or didn't want to hear me at all were getting involved and telling me, I wish I did this sooner. Right? So then I went from having no one to 2 and 3 to now earning a residual income, right? I went from P150 to P6 to P1000 in a pandemic.
Wow, you went through those levels in the last 6 months.
During that time, so this was March. So in March, I actually had symptoms of COVID to the point where I was on the floor. It was either talk or breathe, choose one. I couldn't talk and breathe at the same time. People would call me and I'd literally be like, message me. I couldn't. I had all the symptoms. I was on the floor and I prayed. I said, God, I don't want to go to hospital. I need your help. And God giving me clear instructions on what to do, right? Me doing those things. I mean, not everyone believes, but I can't help but believe. My whole life is a testimony. I've got so many stories. The time that I traveled abroad and I got attacked and God had given me clear instructions on how to get out of that. The time I was 5 years old and my mum prayed for me when I stopped breathing and I had my first asthma attack. For me, God is real. And so I got clear instructions on what to do. And then I went from sort of surviving COVID, right, to then growing a team, right? During that time, I did not leave my house. Because I am a clinically extremely vulnerable person, I was shielding. I couldn't leave my house for 4.5 months. And my business grew.
Wow. I want people to hear that, because remember this Facebook Live as well, to hear that with a condition, with a pandemic, she went from a residual of 150 a month to 1,000 a month during a pandemic. That is a testimony. That's I was say it's phenomenal. It's amazing.
Yeah. Amazing. And so my thing is, for everyone who thinks that they can't, whatever you think is right, you have to tell yourself not what you can't do, but what you will do. If you decide to make it happen, it's done. Simple as that. If you hate your job, yet you make the decision every day to get up and go there, it's because you made the decision every day to get up and go. You can use that same energy and that same power to make a decision to learn a skill that will change your life, and learn a skill that is going to allow you to not have just enough for yourself, but for your family, for your children, for your children's children. I don't even have family yet, but I know that they're secured. For when they come, they will have everything that they need. This is not about me, it's about them. And this is not about me, but like I said before, this is about people who have never even met me that still are going to be impacted by my life, by my journey, by my story. And I always put it this way: I want to go to Ghana and help people. And maybe for some people, they don't want to change the world, but at least start off by changing your world. That's all I will say.
Pammy, that is, I'm lost for words. Part of me wants to bring you back again, but I can't everything else.
Part two.
You think I'm joking? I'm going to be messaging you later.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my days. Pammy, that is so wonderful. And the bits that I picked out of that was, for you, you took your time, slow and steady. Sometimes people come in here, like you said, they want the money straight away. They want the team straight away, and they don't even know how they're going to manage it. They don't even know how they're going to lead. And you took your time, and rather than you recruiting and going out, people saw you. Your life was your testimony, was your plan, was the calling card.
Yep.
And
Yep.
people came.
Yep. Develop yourself, have faith, and the rest will follow.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Pammy, where can people find you? Because I know you are going to have to shoot off and do something else in a bit.
Yeah, I've got a presentation at 7. If you're watching this on Facebook, you want to find out more about the business, get the details from Janet. But you can catch me on, really, I just use Instagram. Even then, I'm not doing as much as I should, but at PammyB __. So PAMMYB __.
Nice. And if you want to know more about the plan, the presentation that Pammy's doing shortly, just message me. I'll give you the details. And also there's a link in the description box on Facebook if you want to know more as well. Pammy, what final words would you like to leave people with?
There's a saying, an African saying that I love. That just reminded me of Desmond. There's an old African saying. Remember Desmond, the program?
Yeah.
Not Desmond's.
Yeah.
If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go with others.
Mm-hmm.
If you're being told about this opportunity, it's because the person that's telling you actually cares for you and they care about your well-being. They recognize that they have found something good. And so rather than having a crab-like mentality and keeping it to themselves, they're sharing it with you. And for the wealthy, the rich, this is what they do. They share ideas and opportunities with each other. If you're in a group of friends or individuals who are not contributing to your life, this circle is not a circle, it's a cage. And you need to break out of the cages that are holding you down and stopping you from achieving your dreams. So yeah, my thing is recognize that you need a vehicle. This is a very good vehicle that will lead you to your destination.
Pammy, thank you so much, and everybody has contributed. There's Kemi's put Pammy's Instagram in there. That has been an amazing, inspirational, and also directional interview as well. People are very clear about how their lives can change. Pammy, thank you so much, and I'm sure a part 2 is coming. All right, and thank you everybody who's given up their time to listen to this interview both here on Zoom and on Facebook. Thank you very much, and I will see you next week with another Insider Trader. Take care. Bye.